All right, here we go, baby.
Appreciate
Simmons
it.
comes down the corner. Markel Phelps in the corner. Markel to Embiid. Embiid goes to the hole. He dunks. Here come the Sixers on defense. There's a steal in the backcourt. Transition. Here comes Phelps. Throws the lob up to Simmons. Slam, jam, bam. And the Sixers beat the Warriors.
More of the Zach Gelb Show on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey.
All right, welcome back in. 417 from the Princeton Orthopedic Associates Studios. This is the Zach Gelb Show right here on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. That was Dickie V on Friday, live on our show, doing some play-by-play, looking into the future, being very clairvoyant about the future of the Philadelphia 76ers. And it got me thinking on the way home that I got to get the actual TV play-by-play voice of the Philadelphia 76ers on the line, and that's Marc Zumoff from Comcast Sportsnet, and we're going to talk some Sixers with him. Mark, we appreciate a few minutes. Thanks for the time, and how are you?
Gelby, I'm digging Dickie V. That was great.
It was unbelievable. Hey, actually, you want to go a little play-by-play right now and try to top the great Dick Vitale?
There's no way. I'm there just to admire the man and say, hey, he's the best, and I'm just trying to be like him.
Hey, I go on Twitter a lot these days. That's kids my age. We always are on Twitter 24/7. And everything I see on Twitter is that it's up to you to come up with this next Sixers nickname. They're going with the Feds right now. Do you like the Feds?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I think I need to see them in action and sort of get a feel, if you know what I'm saying. And then once that happens, I think I might be able to come up with something. But it's got to be a feel thing, and it's got to hit me, and you can't force it. So, having not seen them play together and get an idea as to what it's going to be like, I think I'm gonna stand down for now.
But this excitement level, that's why everyone, I know some people say the Feds, and they bring up your point. Let's see them first let's let them all get healthy and see them on the court before we start putting a nickname on them. With that being said, though, and you've seen this process and you've seen how bad it's got over the last few years, the excitement level is at an all-time high. This must be awesome for you to watch, Mark.
I know. It's really cool. I'm digging it a lot. It's a lot of fun. Zach, certainly for me personally, as a fan, I grew up here, so just to know that some good things are around the corner, and quite frankly, being a little bit older than you, I go back to the first year of the team, but I think back to the mid-'70s, drafting of Doug Collins, signing of George McGinnis, signing of Julius Erving, drafting Mo Cheeks, drafting Andrew Toney. That was the beginnings of the team that would eventually win the title in '83. And I just remember that period of time and a similar kind of anticipation and excitement. I think we like that in our town. I remember, and I hate to go really old school on you, but after the '64 Phillies missed out on the pennant, they kind of purged that team and they brought up Larry Boa, who was a rookie shortstop, and Denny Doyle was a second baseman, and they had a manager named Frank Lucchese. And this was a team that was young and really wasn't going to go anywhere. And on opening day, I just remember they gave them all like a 1-minute standing ovation because they were just really thrilled to have young kids and, very hopeful for the future. So I think our town kind of embraces that.
The opening night this year is going to be unreal, Mark. Just the excitement level, because just like you're saying, going back and looking back after all these years, this town just wants to see a winner, and that's the thing right now with the Sixers. At opening night, it's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be a real spectacle.
Listen, not just opening night, but if all goes according to plan, you'll have the opportunity to get close to, if not a sellout, for just about every game. So when you think about what it's been like for the last few years, and even before that, to come to the point where a team where essentially two guys who hadn't even played yet, in Ben Simmons and Markel Fultz, yet all these people are thinking about coming out and watching the team and buying full season tickets. Not even just opening night, but it's going to be a terrific season.
Marc Zumoff with us right now on the Zach Gelb Show, Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. All right, Mark, let's talk a little bit about Markel Fultz. What do you know about the kid? What do you like about him, your early impressions?
I did a podcast with him, and I have to tell you that for anybody, not only his age, but anybody, period, no matter what your age. He comported himself absolutely beautifully. He was mature. He was worldly. He was very passionate about basketball, but passionate about other things, about cooking, about community service. He actually wants to be an accountant so that not only can he take care of his own affairs and know what's going on, but it's really just an inherent interest of his. So I'm really heartened by that, but also, Gelby, the fact that, like Michael Jordan, he was cut from his varsity basketball team in 10th grade, and now 3 years later he's the top pick in the NBA draft. So think about all of the work that went into that kind of improvement over that short period of time. I think is pretty amazing. I like late bloomers anyway. I think there's something about late bloomers where, they haven't been spoiled. They've been the underdog for a good part of their lives. And I think that kind of develops character, so I'd like to think that that's going to come along with it as well.
And I asked Brian Colangelo about this after they drafted him because I agree with you. The chip on his shoulder, it's just such a nice story here when you look at a Markelle Fultz and how this kid, like you were saying, wasn't even on the varsity team in his sophomore year of high school. And that chip, he's not obnoxious about it, but you could just tell that this guy is going to be such a hard-working player, and he's going to do everything he can to be the best player that he could be. He won't be complacent.
Which will be nice. Listen, there are certain things that you can't coach. You hope that a player comes to the table with, and that seems to be evident in him. It's yet to see how it'll play out in an NBA environment. You would like to think that there's no reason why it can't. I think that the team is starting to develop a nice young leadership course certainly surrounding Joel Embiid, which I think is going to be a good thing for him to get into. They seem to have a good mix of veterans. You could include Robert Covington in that, and Jared Bayless in that, and even T.J. McConnell to that extent. So I'd like to think that the culture, the environment, is going to be a good one that will help to continue Markelle Fultz's development and also his willingness just to be a part of the team.
How do you believe Simmons and Fultz will gel together on the court, Mark?
You would like to think well, just based on the fact that they seem to have complementary skills. In Simmons, you have a talent that could potentially be once in a lifetime. Obviously, of course, we have to see that unveil itself on an NBA floor, but that seems to be the feeling based on practices in his 1 year of college. And a guy who likes to pass first. So that's always going to be complementary. You're always going to like playing with a guy like that. And then Fultz has the opportunity, if you want to give the team a different look, if you want to take some pressure off of Ben and have him handle the ball for a little bit, or if you want to have him spot up or break a guy down and create for himself for others. So just on the surface, they would seem to be complementary. And I'm not quite sure how this whole point guard thing is going to work out defensively, but that certainly gives the Sixers a guy who has decent size for guard, not great at 6'4", but seems to have the athletic ability and the intelligence to defend well in the NBA. So that could be a good thing, depending on what the matchups are that particular night. So on the surface, it seems all good. A lot of it has to shake itself out on the floor, but as it relates to the indicators so far, it looks pretty good.
We're talking to Marc Zumoff right now on the Zach Gelb Show. The next step, when you look at free agency, I know a lot of people speculate on Redick. What do you expect this team to do in free agency, Mark?
Zach, that's a great question. I don't think, and this is just me spitballing with you, I don't think, in spite of the fact that they do have a lot of room under the salary cap, that they will try to make a major splash with a big signing. I think Redick is a great name. He certainly fills the bill as it relates to the need for an outside shot and a veteran presence. Personally, I liked having Ersan Ilyasova on the team. I think there are 25 to 28 to 30 minutes a night awaiting Dario Saric, but I think that in the current NBA environment, Ilyasova represents the best possible complement as it relates to having a stretch forward to Joel and the rest of the guys. So I think if they could do something like that, you're looking at a team that, if people stay healthy and if young players mature, and I realize those are very big ifs, can they contend for a playoff spot? Sure. In a best-case scenario, yes. And even lesser than that, you think that they'll increase their win total. They'll be in more games than they've been in recent years past, and hopefully they'll be able to gel during the year and show that they have a pretty good future coming together.
And that's the big thing, and you hit the nail right on the head. It's definitely the health, and everyone's going to hold their breath every time Joel Embiid, just for 1 second, looks like he's in pain just because of what we know with this history. But you mentioned the potential of playoffs. This team could be a 7 or 8 seed if they stay healthy. I don't think that's crazy at all.
Well, you have to remember this. I think I won't say there'll be a bullseye on their back, but there's going to be a little bit of a bullseye on their back because you're talking about number 1 picks, and you know how players are. They're veterans. They give a sniff and they look at these hotshot young kids and they say, "All right, you know what? We're going to show you what it is to play basketball with real men." So there's going to be some of that, which is going to make it tougher for them to win. And again, Ben Simmons hasn't played an NBA game. Markelle Fultz hasn't played an NBA game. Joel Embiid, you don't know how many games, how many minutes you're going to get out of him. So while there is, and I don't mean to throw a wet blanket on things, but let's be real. These are the circumstances that are surrounding a young team.
Who wins Rookie of the Year tonight?
I'll tell you what. This is one of those where I'm flummoxed because I could see it going to any of the guys. I will tell you that I did sort of an informal survey with coaches and writers and broadcasters regarding Joel and whether or not he could be Rookie of the Year having played 31 games, and it pretty much split down the middle, and that's, totally unscientific. There were a lot of people who loved Dario and what he was doing, and I think Brogdon is a really good player, and I think a lot of people looked around and said, you know what, you have a rookie who's playing 30 minutes as a starting point guard for one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, and Jason Kidd. That alone gives him, some votes and some credibility. So, I could state the case for and against all three. I'd like to think it's going to be a Sixer, but if it's Brogdon, it wouldn't surprise me.
Brogdon, though, never won Rookie of the Month. That's why I think he's going to end up winning it tonight. I would like to see Sarge win it and beat the 31 games. I hold that against him, even though he was the most important rookie out of any of the rookies this past year. But with Brogdon, I just have a tough time giving it to him, even though I think he's going to win it tonight because he never won Rookie of the Month.
I know. That's a great point. And I'm not sure if that's unprecedented or not. I'd be interesting to see what the research yields on that.
Yeah, no, we don't have those kinds of statistics here, but we'll get someone else to look it up, and I'm sure someone will have it on this extra long, show tonight, which is just ridiculous. 14 days after the finals, we finally get the awards, Mark?
You know what? I think, listen, here's the thing. I think more and more, Zach, teams are looking at calendars and they're looking at all 365 days to try to stay in the consciousness of the fan. I mean, look at soccer now. If you follow a Premier League team, your season ends in mid-May by the beginning, and then you have the transfer window, and then by the beginning of July, your team is in training again, and they're going overseas and playing games, and by August, they're at it again. So it's all running together. You see what the NFL does. My goodness, their draft doesn't come until well after the Super Bowl, months after the Super Bowl. So to me, it's probably it's their first time, and I guess they figure after the finals, after the draft, and before Summer League. So that's why I guess tonight seemed to be a good fit.
All right, I got two more before we let the great Marc Zumoff run on Fox Sports 920 The Jersey. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Let's get a little bit on Colangelo, just because you know the divide that has been in the fan base with Hinkie and then eventually Colangelo and how much a debate and a divisive topic that has been. I thought the trade is going to help Colangelo immensely just because you get to celebrate Sam but also praise Brian Colangelo. So just how about the job of one Brian Colangelo so far since his tenure in Philadelphia is a little bit over a year old now?
I think that there is about a 90 to 95% approval rating on the trade to acquire the top pick. I was there at the Piazza at Schmitz in Philly, and there were thousands of people who came up to me, and they were just oozing with anticipation and glad that the deal was made. You could see the reaction at the box office, which is maybe the most important barometer, where people are putting their money where their enthusiasm is, so they must feel like it's a good deal. And listen, that's why you do what Sam Hickey did. You accrue all of these assets, so when the time comes, you have those assets to spend in a situation where you think the time is right and you think the player or the opportunity has to be seized at that particular time. So, I think it's all good. Certainly there are those, if you want to talk about Sam Hickey, who fall on both sides. There are people who think that he, and you'll pardon the expression, he lawyered up to a point where he was able to, while losing, to accrue the assets necessary to help with the team's turnaround, and that's clearly evident. I mean, that's worked. But there are others that said, really? You've done it while yielding 10-win teams and 18-win teams? What's that about? So I'm just happy that it's in the past, and I'm happy now with what's come of it, and I'm really excited. Not that I want to wish my summer away, but I'm really excited for late September when the team goes to training camp.
Yeah, and also Summer League as well. They got to get healthy through Summer League as well,
Right. So you'll see Fultz, and you'll see some of the other guys. Pasechniks is how you say his last name, Andres Pasechniks.
Okay, so not Pasechniks. That's what a lot of people have been saying.
Well, there is. Check Twitter, as you said. You're a big Twitter guy. I'm thinking that he will be in the Summer League. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I'd like to think that he would be. I'm almost positive that Fultz will be. Listen, these guys, I don't believe, have been actually officially signed to their contracts yet, so I don't know what the deal is with that. I'm totally talking out of school. I don't know how that works. But my hope is that you'll see Fultz, and you could see Pasechniks and the young fellow they got from UCLA, whose name eludes me right now as well.
Okay, before we let you run, Mark, let me just get one more in on you. The Big Three with Allen Iverson, and it was very successful yesterday in Brooklyn. July 16th, that's coming to Philadelphia. Just how do you view this Big Three as someone that's so involved with the game? And you got to love seeing Allen Iverson play basketball again.
I think Ice Cube has come up with a really, truly brilliant concept. And the main reason I think that is I remember when I was a kid, and not even a kid, my goodness. Well, yeah, when I was a kid, and they would have old-timers games as prelims. And, of course, that was a part of All-Star Weekend before they disbanded the idea, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. And they discontinued it because you would have guys show up in their 50s and 60s, and obviously they wouldn't be close to the players they once were. So here's an opportunity for players who aren't that far removed from retirement to still compete in a format that's somewhat representative of basketball. And, at least, after yesterday, it appears to have some kind of an audience. We'll see, once their season is done. But, I love hoops. I love it in every fashion. I did women's basketball in Rio for the Olympics last year for NBC, and I've come to greatly appreciate the women's games, and I tune into the WNBA as well. So I'm all about hoops in any form or fashion. I love AI, and I'm sorry that I missed it yesterday, but I hope to see it again sometime later in the summer.
Mark, always love talking to you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Back at you, brother.
Thanks so much. There's Marc Zumoff. He was looking at the name of Jonah Bolden, right?